What's going on, everyone? So, one of the things we've seen a lot this offseason is Anthony Davis being in the gym and working out heavily, more so than any year that I can remember. Now, every year, you see a couple like things from Anthony Davis that he posts or somebody posts or whatever. But I mean, Anthony Davis has even talked about how, like, hey, like I like take a month off or whatever after the season to kind of rest and recoup and regroup and stuff. And that didn't really happen this year. I mean, he was immediately in the gym, right? And he was working out, doing his little boxing thing. And I know people were making fun of him for that and stuff, but like people, a lot of that is just trolls and people being goofy. But a lot of the boxing is actually really great, right? Because you're working on your cardio, you're working on your stamina, you're working on your coordination, you're working on your core, you're working on a lot of things that can translate and really help the game of basketball. So if you've ever boxed, you know exactly the things that you are taught, you are working on, the type of muscles, the type of exercises, all of the things that go into it, you are working on. I mean, even just jump roping, right? Like is a big part of it. And that is great for the game of basketball. So I love seeing stuff like that. He's been in the gym, like just working out, lifting weights, getting shots up, working on his form. We got the news out of LeBron's training camp from Austin Reeves that, hey, Anthony Davis, he's looking like his shot is coming back. He's been working on his three-point shot all offseason, trying to kind of get that back into form, which, I hope actually works because he wants to play the power forward a lot. And the only way he's going to be able to play the power forward is if he can start knocking down the outside shot, right? Like that's been a big issue is the bubble year, he was brilliant. That dude can't miss. Dude was hitting fadeaway, game-winning threes and stuff. And now it's just like it's completely disappeared. It's gone completely away. He had the best shooting season of his career last season, and he was still like 22% from three, right? He didn't take many, if any, at all. But still, right? He's been working all offseason. Rob Pelinka talked about it in the interview that they had with him and Darvin Ham the other day. Talked about how he was working with Chris Gent a lot this offseason, pretty much all offseason. And for those that don't know, Chris Gent is the Lakers shooting coach. So that's good. He's been working in the lab, working on his shot. And something that, again, Austin Reeves relayed was that, like, this dude, we are heavily encouraging him to shoot more threes, to shoot out on the perimeter, right? 15 feet out, it's been rough, right? 15 in, he's still butter, he's still money. If he can develop that 15 out shot again, and I'm not even saying he has to be a lead or anything like that. Can he just be like serviceable, like league average from three? If he can get to like 34, 35% again, like good luck. Because Austin Reeves talked about how he's literally unguardable, and he's right. Anthony Davis, more than any other player in the league, there is not another player like him. When he plays to the way that we know he can play, he's the best player in the world. Giannis is absolutely an incredible talent. He is on par with Anthony Davis defensively. He has nowhere near the offensive weaponry. Joel Embiid, on par offensively. Nowhere near the defensive, just shut down lockdown. Karl Anthony Towns, offensively, great, brilliant. Nowhere near the defense. Jokic, playmaking, scoring, all of that. Nowhere near the defense. Anthony Davis is a rare, weird breed. And you know what else he can do that no one else can do besides Giannis? Is put the ball on the floor and just get to the basket, right? Like, and do it easily, do it with ease. Go coast to coast. We've seen him do that, right? Anthony Davis is a rare breed, rare talent, a guy that led the league in 35 and 15 games last year, also led the league in 30 and 15 games last year. The dude, when he's on, is a monster. And we got this report from Darvin Ham. And again, Darvin Ham, Rob Pelinka really spoke heavily about Anthony Davis. And Darvin Ham said, I've witnessed him getting into the gym a ton. As soon as he walks into the room, you can tell that the work is put in, right? Again, that is what you want to hear. So Rob Pelinka was asked, about Anthony Davis' contract extension, was asked about, hey, like, what do you see with Anthony Davis? And they talked about character, right? He has the character and they want to see him in the leadership. You know, he talked about the big conversation that they had before the extension was, hey, we want to buy into you. We need you to buy into us. We need you to become the leader of this team, and we need you to lead by example. And he said Anthony Davis agreed, was immediately in the gym. And we have seen him in the gym working like a madman all offseason. I love that. I'm really hoping, like seriously, I was hoping this last year and it didn't quite happen. I'm really hoping that this is the year that he takes the step. There has been a lot of talk and a lot of conversation about how his best basketball is ahead of him. I fully believe that, right? I mean, he just turned 30. He's in his prime or entering his prime. He's got another at least 4 to 5 years, injuries, hopefully, knock on wood, don't happen. But he's got a good 4 to 5 years of absolute dominance if he can put it together. I mean, there were talks when he was on the Pelicans if he was the best player in the league. And there were very good arguments. Like, he was just brilliant on both sides of the basketball. Can he do that? Can he take that step consistently? Like, the difference between him and like Embiid, Giannis, and like Jokic is the consistency. Like, he puts up the same numbers, right? Like, his averages aren't that far off from everybody because what he does on the defensive end, like Embiid, yeah, he has more of an offensive output, but his defensive numbers are nowhere near Anthony Davis. Like, Giannis is the only one that has like the defensive numbers and the offensive numbers, right? But Anthony Davis isn't that far off from Giannis, and Giannis also doesn't play alongside LeBron James, right? So it's like people act like Anthony Davis at times is just this like bum or something, but they fail to realize, like, dude, the guy just led the league again in 35 and 15 games, led the league in rebounding, right? Go look at his numbers and his statistics. Like, they're literally on par with all the top players in the league. It's just the lack of consistency, right? One game he goes and he gives you 40, 20, 3, and 3. And you're just like, dude, like, this is a real play. Like, this guy exists. Like, wow. And then the next game, it's like 8, 2, 3, and 3. Like, and it's just like, okay, well, he was still great defensively, but offensively he was horrible, right? And it's not like he scored 8 because the Lakers won by 30. No, he scored 8 because he was like 2 of 17 from the field or something like that. That's the problem. Like, Giannis, like, his bad games are still like 20 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists or whatever, like something crazy like that, right? And Jokic, it's still like, yeah, he had a bad game, but he still gave you like 22 and 8 and 8, right? Like, it's just Anthony Davis's bad games are bad. But one of the things that I love about Anthony Davis, and even Rob Pelinka and Darvin Ham talked about it, the unselfishness is of him as a superstar. And I talked about that before this interview. Talked about it heavily. You can go back and look at the videos. And I love that Anthony Davis, he doesn't necessarily care about his stats, right? He just wants to win. And he's reiterated that constantly, right? I don't care. Like, if I score 12 points and we win the game, then I did my job. And look, I agree with that if he's efficient and effective, right? Like, if the team is cooking and we are just dominating, then why would you overwork Anthony Davis to overwork Anthony Davis and maybe potentially take away and mess up what you have that's working, right? Like, I love that Anthony Davis is willing to let the other guys get going and eat, but I don't want to see him. I want to see him on the times, the games, and the moments that we need him to step up. That's my problem. Like, I don't care if Anthony Davis scores 10 points. Like, I know a lot of people like love to crucify him over that, but he's doing the right thing. He's playing within the game, right? Like, yes, I would love to watch him get 30, but why if everybody else is cooking and we're up 30 points? Now, like, all you're doing is just overexerting him and potentially risking him getting injured for no reason. When the game's already over, you won. Like, what's the point, right? But it's those games where it's like, it's a tight game down the stretch, and you're our best player, you're our superstar. We should be able to give you the ball and you go close that out like we saw you do in the bubble year. He's capable of it. We know he can. We watched him do it. We watched him do it in the playoffs, right? Like, I want to see that from him. But the Lakers have to do right by Anthony Davis, right? Darvin Ham needs to get him the basketball. I mean, even Darvin Ham talked about it last playoffs. Like, what did he say? Something along the lines of like, I'm an idiot coach that needs to find a way to get AD the ball or give AD the ball or whatever, right? It was something along those lines. And he was right. Like, run some plays. Get AD the ball. The only person that was actively trying to get AD the ball last year was D'Angelo Russell. Right? And one of the best plays in all of basketball was the D'Lo Anthony Davis pick and roll. D'Lo was the only one, to his detriment at times, right? He was trying to force it in AD a lot too. But I think a lot of that had to do with just lack of chemistry. I actually think it'll be better this season, but he shouldn't be the only one. LeBron James has talked repeatedly out. Anthony Davis is the guy. Anthony Davis needs to be the number one option. Anthony Davis, Anthony Davis, Anthony Davis. Marshall. For those that get the reference. But, it's one thing to say that. It's another thing to do that. Like, the ball always touches LeBron. If Anthony Davis is the number one guy, the ball should always touch Anthony Davis even before LeBron because he's the number one guy, right? And LeBron's the perimeter guy, but Anthony Davis, if he's the number one guy, LeBron should be looking to get him the basketball. Put him in position to have success. But in the same breath, Anthony Davis needs to do him some help, right? He needs to do a better job of establishing himself, demanding the basketball, right? Whatever you got to do. If you have to get in LeBron's face and tell him in front of everybody, give me the basketball, then do it, right? Get in Darvin Ham's face, whatever. You think LeBron and Darvin Ham would be upset about that? No. I try not to, say naughty words, right? This is sports, so it's family friendly, and I try not to do that stuff. But you know what I want to say, right? I guarantee you LeBron would love it. Darvin Ham would love it. Because that would be him taking the reins and saying, no, I'm the guy. Give me the ball. We're not playing this game. Give me the ball, right? He needs to establish himself. He needs to be that dominant leader, that dominant force. Lead by example, as Rob Pelinka said. And he's doing it so far in the gym. I hope that translates, and he does that on the basketball court. I really do. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Whatever it is, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments. Do you think Anthony Davis kind of takes those strides this year and kind of becomes the guy? Look, I've said it repeatedly. We go as far as Anthony Davis takes us. If Anthony Davis wants us to win an NBA championship, he will lead us to an NBA championship. It's that simple. But, and again, let me know down in the comments.